Uh-oh.
Oop.
Hey, welcome, y'all!
Hey! New Year's coming at you.
That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 78 for Thursday, December 29th, 2016. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Walsh, joining the PETM Podcast studio by Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
Hey, man. How you doing? How's your holidays been?
The holidays have been
Did you
fantastic
get some fun stuff
so
for
far.
Christmas?
Well, if you're watching on the Periscope, you can see at least two of those things.
I
I'll tell you
saw
what.
some of that stuff. Look what I got.
Yeah. Ooh, that Yeti cooler. You've had that thing cooling off since you got home.
Neat as hell.
I bet that thing's frozen solid.
Yeah, I think it's probably colder now than when I put the beer in it.
Yeah, right? So, anyway, we have an esteemed guest today, don't we?
Yes, we do.
We want to thank him for joining us. On the Skype here with us tonight, we have Mr. Frank Velat. He covers NASCAR for FrontStretch.com, and that's at Front Stretch. And he's at Frank Velat, FrankVelat. So welcome to the show, Frank Velat. What's up, dude?
I'm happy to be here. I've taken in a few of you guys' episodes and lately, and I like what found it very entertaining. The episode you guys just did with Chasm had me in stitches, and I'm like, I gotta see it somehow.
That guy just brings a vibe, doesn't he? Like
he creates humor that just sometimes isn't there, but it's like a little like he's the guy that flicks his wrist and then a little fire appears between his fingers.
And for everybody around him too. I mean, I was on high. I was feeling good. I won't try to pat myself on the back, but it felt like we were funny in that time. But yeah, what a great guy. But today it's all about Frank. So Frank, you know how we start this thing off. What you drinking today?
I'm on round 3 of Captain and Coke out of the esteemed Michigan mug.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Nice.
Yeah,
So,
if you're watching on
go
the
Big
Periscope
Blue.
there, you can see that thing. If you're on round
can do
3
that.
with that, 32-ounce mug, you're feeling pretty good today, ain't you?
Yeah, it's probably not the best thing considering I have to be up for work at 4 a.m. But
Oh, boy.
Oh, geez, that's early. That is very
all right.
early.
Yeah, that's an ordeal. Sherwin, what you got today?
I am drinking from your bottle of White Label Jim Beam, and I brought a little, I think I brought Diet Schweppes ginger ale to mix it with. And I'll get into some of this beer later. I bought the Scofflaw.
It's a black can. Interesting.
Yeah, it's matte, too.
Oh, cool.
Double Jeopardy Double IPA.
Well done.
So that's going to be fun. Once I finish the liquor, I'll get into a double IPA because that's a good idea.
Right? So Jekyll Brewing, right out of Alpharetta, Georgia, here, out where you live.
For sure.
Yep. They have this tackle box right now that is all dark beers. So they got a stout, they got a porter.
That's right. They have like the winter dark tackle
Yes, sir.
box.
Oh, man, it's delicious. So right now I'm drinking the Coffee Cooter. It's made with Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee, American brown ale with coffee added. I stopped drinking coffee a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah, that's the Cooter Brown with coffee added.
Yep. So
Yeah.
you throw some
Good
coffee in
stuff.
my beer, and I'll get jacked up and be ready to roll.
A little caffeine, a little beer.
Yep.
Not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea at all. So it's PETM 78. I can't believe it. All right, I'm a broken record here.
So this is how we start, like,
cars.
just BSing down the dirt road. Is the
Yeah,
fact
right.
that it's in the off season. We know we have to just kind of see what we can do here. But 78, and we actually have some really, really neat historical things to bring you about car number 78.
Yeah. So first off, Kenny Smith, buddy. We hadn't talked about him in a little while. He's in his off season.
I was so
he's
excited when he sent something that was like, "Hey, by the way, we got a 78 thing." I'm like, "Really? What is it?" And he's like,
do you?
"Oh."
and he sent
So
it to
you're
us.
fixing to find out what it is.
So yeah, of course, the driver of the 24K PETM podcast car in 2016 out there in Lee County Speedway, Iowa. But he sent us a little story. He said he used to have, or his family used to have, a number 78 car. And I'm going to bring it up here
It was
on
a midget.
on the Periscope here so people can see. I actually
It's a
put
dirt,
some
dirt open wheel
pictures
car.
up. But if you're seeing it on the video, Periscope, or on
actually, I
YouTube
guess,
or whatever.
Yeah, they raced it on asphalt too. I think we're going to
Yeah,
find
yeah.
out.
So that one on the left right there, AJ Foyt once drove that car, and the story was that that's a midget, that car on the left that he owned. And when he was a kid, he was at Phoenix one year. They took it to run the mile track with a Ford V8 that was cut in half for an engine. I mean, how about that for an engineer?
I'm not sure if you meant the car was cut in half, because I know you couldn't cut the motor in half. And they were even running those big motors then. But he may prove us wrong, but I don't know. You'd have to cut everything in half to run a half a motor.
Yeah.
I don't think it worked. I think it meant that it was like a Ford, whatever it was, that had the V8 in it. They had cut it in half and said, we're just taking the motor half.
Mm-hmm. So AJ Foyt came by. He saw the car, looked it over, and said he wanted to drive it for us. So, Mr. Frank, you know what happens when AJ Foyt walks by and says he wants to drive your car, right?
He drives the car.
Yeah, like
without a
100%.
doubt. So, ended up finishing third with it at Phoenix. He wants to say it's around 1971. Not for sure. That was the best finish that car ever had, and it was a number 78 car. How about that?
Yeah. AJ Foyt puts it in the top 5. How about that?
No kidding. That goes to show you just, I mean, what a driver, you know?
That dude, I mean.
AJ Foyt could probably put my Jeep in the top 5.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see that talent. I love seeing that stuff. And we've talked with drivers on this podcast who say that they want to see the teams go in with equal cars or something, see who the best driver is, and especially when you get something like that, underpowered probably,
Right.
or whatever, and see him drive in the top 3. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to AJ. AJ's still alive, so I'm not going to tip my cap or pick my glass up because he's still alive. But, yeah, AJ can – if it's got 4 wheels and a motor –
Yeah.
don't dare AJ to drive it.
Well, I've got another
he'll
story.
win.
I've got another story on the 70. And by the way, thank you, Kenny, for sending that one in. Y'all jump on the Kenny sponsor train, man. He's looking for more sponsors in the next year, and we're looking
it's
forward
a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. You get those periscopes from
Heather.
from Heather, and you can watch a guy that you've sponsored drive. It's real fun. So coming up. Everybody knows, though, 78, Regan Smith with a win. Truex with 5 wins and running in it right now. Kurt
We
Busch.
saw it. Our first Darlington race was Regan Smith's Cup win in the 78 car, and to do it at Darlington, how friggin' cool.
Real cool.
All of the things happened.
Kurt Busch, of course, drove it. Joe Nemechek, Kenny Wallace among the names. Some people we've talked about on the podcast before. How about Jim Paschal? Remember that name? Buddy Arrington.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it Paschal or Pascal?
Might be
I don't know.
Pascal.
I'm sure it's Paschal.
I'm just,
I'm sure he's probably from somewhere in like Virginia, and they don't even know what Pascal's triangle is, which is fine. But no, I'm kidding. Just
Paschal,
goofing off
Pascal, Germans bombed Pearl Harbor and whatnot.
Right.
He's rolling.
Right.
Here we go.
Just let him roll. He's rolling.
But there's only, besides Regan Smith and besides Martin Truex Jr., there's one other win in the 78 car, and it's a legend. This guy, after looking him up, I'm like, this guy is everything that I want in a racer. First off, his name, Dick Passwater.
Dick Passwater.
Frank, how about that name? You heard of him before?
Hats off.
I'll be honest, I have not. I fancy myself a history connoisseur, but somehow I missed that one.
So he started racing after World War II, where he was in the Navy, serving with Fleet Air Wing 7. He lost his hearing completely and had to go to he had to start reading lips. He had to start he was starting to use a hearing aid and stuff. And then he joined NASCAR. Why not?
Why not? Let's race cars.
He won the 5th race of the 1953 season at Charlotte in his 1953 Oldsmobile. And at the time, Charlotte was a 3/4 mile dirt track, and everybody else kind of wrecked out or pitted late, and he ended up right there in the top of the podium at the end of the race. So listen to this. 2 reasons why he's my hero right now. Well, among, being a World War II vet, if you will.
Right.
He rode to the track in a limo and got out in a tuxedo every time, had Pomp and Circumstance playing, and climbed into the car from there. How cool, huh?
It was freaking Frank Sinatra racing.
and if he, funny part is, think about a guy today trying to pull that off, like that, they would be just beat to dirt, but that was cool. And he was born in 1925. And today, he is 91 years and 6 months young. and still kicking. They say he's exactly like he's always been. So, raising our glass. Frank, cheers to you as well. Mr. Dick Passwater.
Right.
Good cheers there. So, let's get into podcasting, huh? We'll talk a little bit. Frank?
Just some radio show.
Yeah. Frank, why don't you tell us about yourself, what you're doing, what you're working on, what's going on?
Right now, I'm kind of just enjoying the holidays. We finished up the season, did our top 30 in points, driver reviews. I had Jamie McMurray and Ryan Newman. And just really looking forward to 2017. I mean, with all apologies to Denny Hamlin, I am ready for the Daytona 500. I'm sorry. I like you and all, but I'm ready to go. I'm not even counting the days till Daytona. I'm a nerd. I'm counting the days till media week.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh heck yeah! What are we at? We're like 60 or 59 days till the Daytona 500, right?
Yeah, so that's got to be a few weeks before then, huh?
Yeah, so we're like 51 days from media days or something. I'm not sure.
Something like that. So you did Jamie Mack and Ryan Newman. Tell us about the kind of year in review, what y'all have done, and any sort of special nuggets on either Jamie Mack or Ryan.
I think it was more just kind of for both of them. It seemed to be, this year was just basically a repeat almost of their last couple seasons. They've had, they've each had, a lot of success in the past, but, it's just Newman, he had all those, strong seasons with Penske, and then, the time at Stewart-Haas was fairly successful. And since he left Stewart-Haas, he's just really had a lot of trouble, contending for wins. They're always consistent. You always find that team between 11th and 20th, but they just can't seem to get over that hump, so to speak, for wins. And for Jamie Mack, it's kind of the same, So I mean, next year could go either direction for both of them. I mean, they could, suddenly, break out and have a banner year, kind of like the way Martin Truex did in 2015, or we could see more of the same. So I think they're probably just as eager as I am to get 2017 underway.
No kidding. It's interesting, those two drivers, Jamie Mack and Ryan Newman, and with all respect to both of them and everything, it feels like Jamie Mack is maybe, I don't know. I feel like he could find a groove. And find his way back to the top. I'm struggling to see a glide path for Ryan Newman, although he did make the chase, recently.
Well, the thing is, and I think the reason why you're struggling is it feels like Chip Ganassi is maybe kind of on an upward glide path, especially with Larson. Like obviously there's a lot of at least false momentum behind him in terms of people wanting him to win, and he got his win at Michigan and everything. Everybody's excited about what he can be, but RCR hadn't done, for lack of a better word, they hadn't done poop.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and they haven't even shown the ability to compete. I mean, I think Austin Dillon has 3 top 5s in 3 years in Cup.
Yeah. And we talked about it with NASCAR Chasm a few weeks ago about who the top teams are and and we were even commenting. Yeah. You realize we didn't even mention RCR. We didn't even mention a few.
No,
of those.
they're 5th or 6th.
Mm-hmm.
They're not in the conversation, and so that's why it's a little bit of a struggle to say, well, Ryan Newman. Oh yeah, he's had some consistency. He made the final round of the chase in 2015.
Yep,
without a win, but it doesn't. That seems like the peak for them. Certainly not the valley or the glide path upward.
Yeah, Frank, what do you think? Peak now or peak later for these guys?
I think you're probably spot on with the Childress organization. I mean, it really, without I wouldn't even call it success, without the upturn that Austin has had this year. that organization just really hasn't had a lot to hang their hat on lately.
Yeah.
And I mean, they haven't. I believe the last win for the entire organization altogether was when Menard won the Brickyard 400. I mean, you're talking 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
For an organization with 6 championships and better than 90 wins in cup racing, that's just not what they're used to. It's not, their history has been strong, but of late, it's just like it seems like the top teams are passing them by.
Well, and I think so. The similar conversations start to happen with Roush, and we'll leave them aside for now. But I mean, we talk about RCR, the 90 wins and the 6 championships. The last championship they had in the Cup Series was 1994.
Wow,
it was 22 years ago.
Wow, I wouldn't have.
So, I mean,
I'd have to count back.
That's not a championship organization. That's an organization that used to be a championship organization, and that's what Roush is now. They haven't had a championship since 2004 with Kurt Busch. So that's not a championship organization anymore.
Right.
And what we saw is Roush contracted to 2 cars. RCR seems to be fortifying though. They've got 5 full-time cars for Xfinity. We talked about that a little bit, and they're going to have 3 of them compete for the championship, which means they have 3 full-time, committed sponsorship opportunities, and crew chiefs and drivers are going to race every race, and all that's really good. That sounds like a good start for RCR to get back to being what they probably want to be or what they think they should be.
Yeah, yeah. So, Frank, in the pre-show, you gave us a little nugget here, and I was very jealous, and I got goosebumps, and now I got goosebumps again. You have recently visited a couple of the no longer open tracks there at North Wilkesboro and Rockingham. Tell us about your experience there and what you've been doing.
Yeah, I went to North Wilkesboro on Sunday and took a ride up there, and it's very surreal. To stand there and know what the history of the track, going back, close to 50 years of racing, and then now, it's sat silent, completely for probably close to 5 years, and then NASCAR hasn't been there in any aspect in 20 years.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's very eerie, and, I posted the pictures online, and I got a lot of feedback from people, wanting North Wilkesboro back. And even the area around the track, you can feel the effect that it's probably had on that area. I mean, there's just buildings, that are abandoned, places that might have been open for business and provided jobs to people in that area, is just not there anymore. So I mean, it's very surreal to see a piece of history just standing still for so long.
What's it going to take to get that track back in? I don't know, some sort of business, not necessarily NASCAR even, but anything. Is it
North Wilkesboro or Rockingham?
North Wilkesboro. I mean, it's going to take $1 million paid to.
Yeah, I think that's a tough one because it's not even ARCA ready.
Right.
Like they have to do some things even to get ARCA to go there, and NASCAR says you have to have wall to wall safer barrier on a short track.
Yeah, so you're just dropping cash.
I mean, the wall to wall. So it's $100 a foot for safer.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that for 0.4 of a mile or a half a mile or a 1 mile track. What kind of crazy expenditure that is. So
yep,
it's tough.
And how about Rockingham?
But yeah, it's I would say that just to have it ready for any kind of competition at all, it's a lot of cosmetic refurbishing. I mean, nothing's been painted in years. There's been a lot of there's some damage from the elements. There's a building that has a partial collapse on the roof. So there's definitely some repairs that need to be made. And when I was walking around, I was examining the grandstands, and I'm no engineer, but I wasn't willing to climb the grandstands.
Yeah.
It definitely made me a little nervous looking around at wondering how long it's been since anybody even walked up those steps. So I mean, there's a lot of I gotta think there's a lot of issues with code and capacity. Can the grandstands hold the weight of the number of people that they're supposed to seat? All these things would need to be addressed before they could have any kind of event of any series. Host a race there.
And so you went to Rockingham too, right?
Yes.
Tell us about that place.
I was at Rockingham this morning.
Oh wow!
I took a there, and I wasn't able to get in. And was some short-sightedness on my part. I wasn't. It was kind of last minute, so I didn't have a chance to contact anybody to see if I could, gain access. And the bevy of no trespassing signs was more than I was willing to mess with. But I looked around from what I could see from the outside, and it was kind of the same as North Wilkesboro. The one of the things I noticed was the effect that it seemed to have on the area around it. Right at the corner there, out in front of the track, there was a small convenience store, and there was only one car in the parking lot. I thought to myself, what kind of business did that place lose? From the last time they raced here until the following year when there was no race. It had to be staggering, and there's I'm sure there's a lot of businesses, because there's not much else in that area. There's no other tourist attractions like there is here in Charlotte, or a lot of other major markets. So it definitely, I think the areas need the track just as much as the fans want it.
Yeah. Yep. Sure, and we got to get the rock back.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that and Ryan McGee's been talking about this for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
ever since I lost
5
the race?
or 6 years.
Yeah.
When they got the truck race, and he said, and what he said was, "Hey, y'all all said y'all would come if NASCAR came back to Rockingham, formerly North Carolina Speedway in Rockingham, North Carolina." Right. They said, "We'll come if you bring us a race," and they flat lied. The trucks raced 3 times. The attendance was awful, and they left.
That's that's a bummer for a track like that, and it's a shame.
Race fans, you're liars. Like, you have to own up to that. Like, so if you're a race fan listening to this now, just like we are, just like I know Frank is, if you're saying, I will go to a race if you host it at Bowman Gray, or I will go to a race if you host it at Hickory, or North Carolina Speedway, or North Wilkesboro, and Rockingham, I already said North Carolina Speedway, it's the same thing. Like, you're a liar if you don't go.
Yep.
You have to go.
Yep, you have to go, and it's on every person to do that. And I mean, we're guilty. We didn't go. And
we didn't go.
Now I really want to go.
I didn't say I would, but I didn't go.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like those race tracks are very iconic. Mm-hmm. Like, they're a big part of what NASCAR used to be. Like, we love Dale Earnhardt. Like, I've got my number 3 Dale Earnhardt Wrangler blue hat on right now. Like, we love Richard Petty and the old school, and David Pearson, and the Silver Fox and Cale Yarborough and all that stuff. It's like,
I just got goosebumps from all that.
You don't
think about fighting. And
Donnie Allison, Bobby Allison.
Oh yeah,
we don't put your money where your mouth is. Like, if you're gonna sit there and bitch as loud as is possible on Twitter, about I want a racetrack back and I want racing there, you have to. When they offer you racing, you have to go.
Yep.
That's the only way to get it back.
Yep. So that was cool, and y'all got to go check out the pictures that Frank posted too, with his visit there. Those were great pictures, and appreciate you doing that. And that was awesome. So I want to do a segment here It's our last show. Obviously, it's December 29th or whatever it is. I said it at the top of the show, but
What day is it?
I always remember.
29th?
I always forget that
29th.
stuff. Yeah, so wanted to do some 2016 year in review for NASCAR. Let's right
For NASCAR. Okay, we'll start with NASCAR.
Yeah, just NASCAR. Let's not get into
I'll start saying bad words.
Right. It'll be an editing nightmare for old Rusty if we get too far into it. But 2016 year in review. Want to talk about what NASCAR did well. Want to talk about what they should focus on in 2017 too. But starting with, I just wrote down a few topics. Feel free to add your own. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic.
Amongst yourselves.
First topic I'll throw out there, and let's give it to Frank first. Frank, low downforce. What do you think?
I think that for the most part, there was a lot of, I just feel like there was more hype than anything else. It was, we were promised, it will, all these wonderful things, low downforces, or put the racing back in the driver's hands. And, I think there was more made of it than we could tell at a lot of the tracks. And there were some races that were, excellent, they put on an excellent show. But if you look at a lot of the best races, the closest finishes, things like that, it was at a lot of tracks that the downforce would have been irrelevant. You've got the photo finishes at Daytona and Phoenix. Mm-hmm. Some of the best racing we saw here there in Infineon, the race out there in Sonoma. So yep. I think that, it might have been, not to say that it wasn't effective. I just think that it was more hype than visible results in my, and that's just my personal opinion. I think, everybody seems to feel differently about anything that we can bring up. But for the most part, I think that it is just not that it wasn't, good. I think there was more made of it than it ended up being in the end.
Sherwin?
Well, I think it was a step in the right direction. I think that one of the things we have to understand is as we've gone through this transition of making race cars safer and making sure they don't fly up in the air like airplanes, we've discovered that we created some competition issues by doing that, particularly as it's related to aero and related to the splitter and what we do with air going under the car or don't. And I think we're super fearful right now as a group of how much air can get under the car, and we want to eliminate that, which is why we've done what we did with the splitter and the side skirts. Basically, the car actually at speed kind of sucks itself down to the track, almost glues itself to the track. And what we did by doing that is, we eliminated the possibility that a driver would die in a wreck, but what we created was, oh crap, we don't really have as competitive a sport as we had before. Because if somebody nails like 2 points of body downforce or 2 points of front end geometry downforce, like nobody can catch them and nobody can pass them.
Yeah. I don't know what to say here. I think you hit the nail on the head, and it's a step in the right direction. For me, I like where they're going with that. They're listening to the fans. They're trying to do something there. Of course, they want to make these cars plenty safe and everything, so they have to balance with that. And I think as long as they continue listening and continue going in that direction, they have to make these baby steps. I thought it was a good change. I felt like. So correct me. Maybe the data looks different, but we've seen in years past where that front car just he gone.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't feel like we saw that as often this year. I don't know if that has to do with this low downforce or so many factors at play. But I felt like we got a little bit better racing up front this year.
No, I don't. I totally agree. I don't think we saw one car get gone, although we did have a couple of races where one car did get.
I mean, somebody's going to nail the package every once in a while.
Sometimes it happens.
Somebody's going to nail it every once in a while.
We didn't see the concept of right from the very first lap, somebody's gone until we have a pit stop.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't see that. What we saw is that somebody in the top 5 was going to get gone for a little bit, and then other guys are going to catch them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially at the tracks that we really like.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought we got one step closer to where we want to be, but we still have to learn that within this aero package and this downforce package, which those aren't necessarily the same thing, but mostly are the same thing, and this motor package, how do we get these cars to the point where the driver, the guy holding the wheel and holding the gear shifter and putting his foot on the gas, the clutch, and the brake, how do we get that guy to have control over whether or not he wins the race?
Yeah. So next topic, I want to move on to. I'm really curious to hear what Frank says about this one. 2016 was the introduction of the caution clock, in trucks, and of course this is. It's obvious that this is a trial run to see if it's something to implement elsewhere. Elsewhere, obviously, being in the Xfinity and now Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. I got to say it right. Got to keep going.
Well, it's obvious it's been good for trucks because they only threw like 11 of them all season.
Yeah. But it puts some urgency in you. Frank, what do you think? What did you think of the caution clock?
I think this is, it's another one of those things like you were talking about, responding to what the fans are looking for. NASCAR, for all their efforts, they'll never be able to make every race a perfect race where, there's side-by-side racing all, lap after lap and a photo finish at the end. So, I think that they're looking for ways that they can make it better. And, for all the, pros and cons of the caution clock, I think at least trying it is the right move. Was it successful? I think that there were probably some instances where, we might have seen, long drawn out events had the caution clock not been in place. I like it. At the very least, the idea of trying it. It's maybe it's not the perfect long-term solution, but they're willing to step out and say, okay, well, let's give this a shot. Let's try this. Let's see if this will help. And I think that that's one of those things that, the effort of implementing it. I think that it's something that, they could at least give it a shot in the Xfinity series. See how things go there. I see it coming to Cup eventually.
Yeah.
Especially with the way that it's gone in the Truck Series this year. I really don't think there was any race where it, blatantly changed the outcome, because at a certain point it's cut off.
Right.
You can't. Caution clock doesn't, throw a yellow with 4 to go. So I think that was a very important thing to have in that rule, is to make sure that it doesn't affect the ending of the race. It just makes it so that the duration of the whole event might be a little more competitive, might keep the field a little closer, provide more entertainment for the fans. So I think that part was essential, and I could see it coming to the two upper levels of competition anytime in the next couple of years.
So what I'm hearing,
please God, no.
Oh, Sherwin says no. I'm hearing the green light from Frank to go for Xfinity and a big maybe. We'll see what happens, but probably on Cup. Here's the thing for me is I got roped into this thing, man. They got me and they hooked me, and so at the beginning of the season or right before the season when they announced it or whatever, we sat on this podcast. I was like, I don't know about this thing, man. This is some weird stuff. You remember Steve O'Donnell? He said, give it a chance, guys. Give it a chance. And so we gave it a chance. I think the first race, so when we went to Atlanta, the second race of the season, and I was going, you know what? This is okay. I'm okay with the caution clock. And by the end of the season, I'm going, you know what? It's part of the thing now. I'm okay with it. It's fine. I liked it
I love
for
it in the truck series.
And so this is where I was fixing to go. Was I really like it in the truck series where it kind of needs either tweaking or the races themselves need tweaking. Once you get in an Xfinity, I mean, I could see it in Xfinity. Once you get to Cup, I mean, people are already talking about 3.5 hour races. Now you're talking about throwing a caution where there might not have otherwise been one. You got to talk about the duration between them. How long is it? 20 minutes. It's like college basketball versus NBA on the shot clock, I guess, except flipped around. We're like, well, is it going to be 10 minutes in Cup or does it need to be 45 minutes in Cup? What's the deal? So,
well, I mean, so the weird thing is we've said over and over and over on this podcast, because this is our fan podcast, that we don't think the trucks need to be messed with that much. That they put on arguably the best race of the weekend.
And they do it regardless of what rule set you bring. If you bring the rule set that says you can only change.
I mean, and that's why I think we should move that over to the side and say that's just a different thing, and it's an awesome thing. And if anybody doesn't regularly watch trucks, for sure do that next year.
Right.
Because I think you'll like it. If you like racing, what happens on Sunday, you can compartmentalize what happens on Friday night or Wednesday night or Thursday night or Saturday morning or whatever. Like, they move around a lot, but for sure watch the trucks. But I mean, I will be absolutely disgusted.
Disgusted?
If they bring a caution clock to the Cup Series.
Why is that? I mean, come on.
I think it ruins the overall competition of the driver having to figure out how to communicate with his team, the team having to figure out how to make adjustments, the fact that making a fast stop is also important, and the overall setup of we actually have to show up with a good car. Like Atlanta, we already get 13 pit stops.
Yeah.
So, and that's the one that's most, in our face.
Right.
So, do you need more pit stops than that? What are we talking about?
I won't say discuss it, but I think you do bring up a good point in that, and I think we said at the beginning of the season, too. The truck teams, they don't have to bring the best, or they don't have to train up a pit crew, necessarily, if you're not making green flag pit stops. What that means is there's no more green flag pit stops. Right. So, That I think is a very good point that they need to consider should they start bringing this into Xfinity and Cup.
Yeah.
So
for sure. And the weird thing is that green flag pit stops seem to make better racing, but yellow flag pit stops is where the money's made because the room for error is so much smaller.
Mm-hmm. So. Next topic. It was our next another season with the new chase format. Frank, what do you think? How'd it work out?
I would say, overall, I am good with the chase. I think that, when it came out in 2004, I was, I jumped on it right away. I was like, this is great, because the 5 years prior to the chase coming out, 4 of those years, the championship was locked up before the final weekend. Mm-hmm. So it, as a fan, I wanted to see that drama. I wanted the championship to still be in question going into the final event. I think there are too many cars.
Okay.
And
really?
I feel like now the reason behind that is almost certainly because they want as many of the most popular drivers to be in the chase as possible. It's there was a lot made of years when Jeff Gordon missed the chase. Tony Stewart was the defending champion in 2006, missed the chase. So, they're trying to avoid situations like that. And that's a little, to me, that's playing with a little too much. I would really like to see it trimmed back down to either 10 or 12. I think 16 is excessive. I like the win and you're in thing because it's, provided a lot of Um, it's provided a lot of excitement, and when you get down to those last few races before the chase, there is some real desperation on the part of some of those teams that are just barely in or just barely out. So you start seeing a lot of creative strategy, a lot of people just trying to figure out how can we get a win. I'm overall, I'm good with the elimination format. I'm good with the chase. I like, personally, I like all that stuff. I just think there's too many cars. 16 is too many. I mean, you're talking almost half the field on a given week qualifies for the chase.
So, I mean,
that's not in the NFL. Do half the teams make the playoffs? No.
Well, so that's actually one of the. Yeah, I was about to say.
Hold on.
I was about to compare it to
20 of the 32.
I was about to compare it to some other sports where I think criticism is abound in NFL, NHL. If you follow that, is a big one for that.
So
and NBA is probably the biggest one in terms of. I saw this mathematical breakdown. Of course, I'm a nerd for that stuff.
For sure.
And it was like, what's the worst record you could have and get into the playoffs? And I'll make up a number because I don't have it in front of me what it was. But it was a very losing record that you could.
Carolina Panthers won a division at 7-8-1.
Right.
2 years ago.
So yeah, it's spanning some other sports too. I think among sports, it's something that people are struggling with.
It's tough. I think generally speaking, I agree with Frank.
Yep.
That I don't think 16 cars. I don't think 16 teams are capable of winning.
That's the biggest thing. This isn't any given Sunday anymore.
But are we? So what are we trying to do? Are we trying to get the most exposure for NASCAR during a time they have the most competition for exposure? Or are we trying to give the most drivers and teams the opportunity to win a championship?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we trying to do what makes the most sense from a competition perspective? Like, so what exactly it is we're doing? Like,
I think
we
all
know
these factors
NASCAR
are
is
in
trying
play.
to make money,
right?
So let's. I mean, we kind of have to put that inside and say, all right. So outside of making money, what makes sense?
Mm-hmm. So I liked it. I thought, especially this year with the Jimmy Johnson thing, of course, and that was. Well, I mean, we've talked about it here. But I think
Chris
it worked
Buescher
out really
making
well.
the chase made no sense.
Well,
but then it did, because it's like, well, how much fun is it that a team knows that they can do this wild card deal?
Yep.
And potentially win a race. And Eric Almirola did it 2 years ago.
Yep.
And so, like, why wouldn't you want to encourage those teams to do that?
Yeah.
And that's why they should. That's why I like the win and you're in. Regardless of what team you run for. Every team goes to, for example, Talladega, and thinking we could win this race, and they can. So if you could pull off an upset victory on fuel mileage or weather or at a restrictor plate race, you can get your team into the chase. I just think that maybe 16 isn't the number that they should be using. I think, but then, you run into, well, what if the limit's 12 and there's 13 winners? What do we do then? So, there's definitely some tweaking, I think, that still needs to be done. But, to me, I think for the most part, they're on the right track.
So for me, and sorry to cut you off, Frank, but for me, I'm fine with the only way to get in the chase is to win.
That's what I was about to say.
And I don't give a damn how many people there are.
If there's 25, there's 25. If there's 12, there's 12.
If there's 11, guess what? Everybody from the first round makes it to the second round. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why they wouldn't go wild card on that, because NASCAR has always been wild card.
Yeah.
And let's just say, look, if you win a race, you're in.
Yeah.
But here's how it works. There's only going to be 12 people maximum eligible to pass the second round.
Yeah,
and then
I think
8, and then the 4 and the 1. So why don't? I mean, how would that hurt?
I think you cheapen the first 3 rounds or first 3 races of the round of quote unquote 16 right now if everybody gets a bye. And so I think you're going to hurt some TV and attendance and all that. Well, I'm just saying, if only 11 people make it and you planned on 16 people making it and everybody makes it to round 2 automatically,
so you'd have to reset. It's only, for 3 races.
So there's 3 races that may not make as much sense.
No, that's a fair argument. That's a fair argument.
So maybe it's at least 12 teams will make it, maybe more, depending on whatever, or 13 or whatever numbers.
Let me ask you this.
I like it.
Was the only reason why 10 people making the chase sucked is because Jimmy Johnson won all 5 of those years? Was that the only reason that sucked?
I don't know.
I mean, so that's the thing we have to sort of revisit is, we've changed the chase to try to keep Jimmy Johnson from winning.
Yep.
And he finally figured out twice now how to win in 13 and in 16.
Yep.
So, I don't understand what the problem is. Why don't we just...
Well, we'll move on.
Yeah.
We'll just move on. Frank, we've talked about it for a couple episodes now, but want to hear your thoughts on the new sponsorship. What do you think about Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series?
Energy Cup Series.
It's providing me with a lot of work trying to get that to roll off my tongue without thinking about it.
Yep, you can hear me struggling.
Yeah. I think that's certainly the only downside that I've seen so far. I think the brand is strong in the motorsports community. Their involvement in NASCAR goes back several years to. I recall them being on Robbie Gordon's car. It had to be close to 10 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, so, number 7.
They have some pedigree, and they've got. I feel like it's a company that'll bring fresh input, new ideas. I think there are some things that need to be changed. All-Star Race.
Yes, sir.
There's a lot of things that they could put their personal touch on and make it theirs. And that, to me, if I was, sitting at the head of the table, mapping this out, that All-Star Race would be my baby. Because NASCAR you've got the most flexibility. You can turn that into whatever, you want it to be. And, obviously with NASCAR's approval naturally, but, I think that they should be sitting there with NASCAR and saying, coming up with something really different and something to re-energize that race, because I was there last year and it was painful from the stands and it was painful from pit road. And then I watched it, the recording of it a few days later, and I felt even more hurt for the people sitting at home, because that was tough. So I think that's a big opportunity. But as far as the brand, I'm looking forward to it. I think that we'll see some very good things from Monster. Totally. I think they do an excellent job of promotion. And then it's a household name. And when it comes to trying to reach a new audience, I think that we could definitely benefit from that as well. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a good fit.
100%.
Yep. Right on board with all that.
Yep.
2017 coming up. That's 2016 wrap up, y'all. I mean, we've got 1,000 more topics, but I can't let this thing run 4 hours. Although, me and Sherwin will sit here and talk for another 3 hours after we're done. 2017. What predictions do you have? What are you looking forward to, Frank?
I think that, and a lot of people aren't going to want to hear this, but I don't see much fall off coming from the Gibbs organization. I think that they'll still be the cream of the crop. I'm very interested to see, how the switch to Ford works out for Stuart Haas.
I think everybody is, for sure. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, go ahead.
You've got, a 4-car team two of them are championship contenders, challenging for the win, almost weekly. And the other two are just not on that same level. I mean, Tony did get the win at Sonoma, and he had some good runs through the summer. But that, all in all, over the last, 2 or 3 years, that car isn't what we're used to seeing. So
I think
I'm
we
interested
expect Clint to bring that thing back, though, right?
That's the other thing that I was going to get at is, I'm interested to see not only the switch to Ford, but as far as Clint Boyer getting in that ride. So I mean, there's a lot of question marks at Stewart Haas, but I think there's also a lot of anticipation. So I'm eager to see how all of that works out for that team. And then, as far as I see a couple more first time winners coming next year.
Yes.
Chase Elliott will win. There's no doubt in my mind. He will win a race
Chase for sure.
I think that you could also look for, we discussed it a little, briefly earlier, but, I could see Austin Dillon winning a race.
Eric
Blaney.
Jones.
Wow. I mean,
Ryan Blaney. Yep.
That 21 car to, a level that they haven't seen, I mean, they won the 500 with Trevor Bayne, and then they just fell. It seemed like, I wouldn't say they fell off the map, but they certainly weren't a contender week in and week out the way that they, he's got them, running in the top 10, 15 almost every week. So, I mean, that's really neat to see. And I would anticipate seeing Blaney in victory lane possibly in 2017 as well.
I think that is what excites me the most is the new winners in 2017.
I mean, how friggin' cool would it be I'd certainly love for him to win more closer to now than what I'm about to say, but how cool would it be if Ryan Blaney won the Southern 500?
Oh man.
Like that would just that would crush NASCAR. The same way
the universe would explode.
Well, the same way it would be if Chase Elliott won the Indianapolis 400 or the Brickyard 400.
Yeah.
It would crush the same way because it would be that guy is the son of the other guy, and then it won the thing that whatever like in Wood Brothers with Pearson, it wouldn't be necessarily a son thing.
Yeah.
Like those would be really good things for NASCAR. Like if we could have Chase Elliott win, like certainly it would be awesome for him to win Bristol or Atlanta or Charlotte or Richmond even. But if he could win Indianapolis and Ryan Blaney could win Darlington, like
we're begging for stuff there, but I absolutely agree. So
yeah, I think we would reboot NASCAR at that point. It would become a new thing.
So we're in that week between Christmas and New Year. Sherwin, how was your Christmas?
It was pretty awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah, hung out with the folks, smoked a pork roast, went home, fed mom and dad. They gave me a Yeti koozie.
Booyah.
These things rule.
Booyah.
This beer, I promise you, it's been out of my freezer for 2 hours now. I guarantee you it's not 1 degree warmer than it was when I took it out.
Oh, we talked about last week. I said, I'm always kind of, giving them some hints here and there when they're asking for, what should we get Sherwin for Christmas? No. Total freestyle on the Yeti cooler thing.
Good.
That thing is,
way to go, Mom.
Yeah, that was awesome. I'm like, whoa, that's excellent. So, yeah, absolutely. I'm wearing 2 of mine right now. Y'all can see if you're on the Periscope or on YouTube.
Your polo and your hat.
Yeah, we've got this ATL United hat for the soccer team coming up.
We're all in on ATL United, the soccer team that is going to be owned by the same owner as the Falcons. We're super stoked. MLS team, we're real excited.
Yeah. And then this shirt, this
goodness
black polo with the PETM logo on there.
That OG logo was crisp.
Oh yeah, it's pretty. It's pretty. My sister-in-law Sophia, she does textile work and stuff, and she put this one together, and I mean I'm loving it, and it's a great color for a large person like myself. Black.
You know what they tell you? Those
you always look good in black. So and thanks to my sister Steph Socks Woo there on Twitter for the Atlanta United hat and also
I like that hat.
T-shirt.
I'm jealous as hell.
Frizz 11, my wife got me a T-shirt and some concert tickets and stuff. Man, I'm too blessed in that respect. Oh, and the side tables for the Big Green Egg. Parents got me that one. Yeah.
So Pops bought me a bag of the green egg charcoal.
Ah, okay.
And then the
you
starter,
got charcoal for
the
Christmas.
Starter chunks. Yeah.
Well done.
I'm the only person ever been excited to have charcoal given to him for Christmas.
Yeah,
Normally you get the lumps of the coal and the stocking here. You realize you've effed up for the year.
Yeah.
But no, I got a bag of charcoal and it's super exciting.
Frank, how about you?
That's kind of funny. Dear Santa, bring me coal.
Right?
I'm glad to have it.
Yeah, right. We actually, I was in beautiful, gloomy North Wilkesboro on a Christmas morning. My wife and daughter are visiting her parents in Florida, so we did Christmas on Wednesday, the 22nd, I think it was. So that was a lot of fun. I really didn't even care what I got. I have more fun buying presents for my 3-year-old daughter, and seeing her. And it's funny to watch her because she's just getting to the age where she understands that box with wrapping paper on it. That's for her, and she's supposed to rip it off. When she's unwrapping a present, it's something like this. Just pulls off little tiny strips at a time. I finally started helping her because I was worried that it was going to take us until they had to leave Thursday morning.
Just one little quarter-inch
at a time.
which is great. She's not too. She's not destructive with anything. But you're supposed to be destructive with wrapping paper. So we got to work on that a little bit. But no, it's a lot of fun, and like I said, I have more fun just watching her unwrap all the stuff that I overpaid for, and but as long as she's happy, I'm happy. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Excellent.
Good.
Well, we've got a few listener questions. Let's throw them in there. This is usually the part where I'm panicking about, oh man, we're going to go way over time, but you know what? Screw it today. It's
who the hell cares,
we're going to do what we're going to do. We got a few listener questions. Travis Campbell at Travis_48, little two-parter deal. First part, which college other than Georgia Tech has the best chant or cheer? No, of course we were going to do that. I mean,
that's a shout out there.
Yeah, appreciate that one.
Team.
But I mean, Georgia Tech is when they do these surveys and stuff.
There's only been one president to ever sing a fight song.
That's a good trivia question. Who was that?
That was Nixon.
Wow.
With the Russian president.
Oh yeah. That's right. I remember seeing a video of that not too long ago.
Sang
the
Ramblin' Wreck song.
Sang the Ramblin' Wreck song, which is funny. That's not our official fight song. That's like one of our cheers or chants or something. Up with the white and gold is the main. But anyway, but no, that's a great one. Hell of an engineer, and talks about making rum, whiskey, whatever you want to call it. Talking about stirring it in a college bell.
Drink my whiskey clear.
Drink my whiskey clear. A hell of an engineer, and to hell with Georgia.
To hell with Georgia.
And respect all you Georgia fans out there, but we kind of own the state this year. So hey, I'm just gonna. 2016 was great in that respect.
Travis C40, I think he's a Clemson fan, if I don't remember correctly.
Yeah,
if
I'll
he's
back
a
Clemson.
Gamecock fan, I'm sorry for getting that part wrong, but. In terms of who's got the best chant or cheer, I think what you're looking for here is who's got the best tradition.
Yeah,
and it's tough for me to overlook touching Howard's Rock.
Okay.
So Clemson, all the players.
Yeah.
And they have a rock from Death Valley.
Yeah.
That they're, long. Like our Bobby Dodd is their Howard. And he had a rock brought in from Death Valley, California. And
right.
all the players touch it as they run down the hill.
Right.
And it's kind of like play like a winner today at Notre Dame.
Right.
Like they all slap the poster that says play like a winner. It's like all those things are so cool. Like those are the things that jack you up. Like when I mean playing high school ball, I played the kick 'em ball. We said the Lord's prayer. Prayer?
The Lord's Prayer.
We said the Lord's Prayer, and like there's no way to jack yourself up more than say, "Our Father who art in heaven,
Yeah.
hallowed be thy name.
If you're doing it
thy
with
kingdom come,
yeah.
thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven."
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm about to go hit somebody in the face. Like, boom! Like,
maybe an opposite meaning of what they're trying to get at, but oh yeah,
like,
but
so
you're
you
feeling
touch
it.
Howard's Rock, you slap the Play Like a Winner Today, the Newt Rockney saying in Notre Dame, like, those are all really cool things.
Yeah. For chants and cheers, I kind of waffle between two of them. It's weird because when you're such a big fan of one college sports team,
West Virginia, eat something.
So I was gonna say two things. One is the hottie toddy with
hottie toddy God Almighty.
Ole Miss. You gotta respect that,
That's
know,
fun.
and so that's fun.
It's fun,
and it's something that their fans enjoy and respect for that. The other one, you just brought it up. West Virginia will just cuss.
We're
they
just
will
gonna say it. Eat shit tit.
Right. They just
backyard
say
brawl.
4-letter words like it's a comma. It's a beautiful thing, and I love it. So
just over the mountains of Pittsburgh and Charleston is.
Yeah. Frank, how about yourself? Any college traditions or songs or stuff that you love?
I'm incredibly biased here. And
Welcome to the club.
We discussed my beverage holder here, but I think that Michigan has a pretty good standing in that category, as long as we don't talk about dotting I's and other dumb things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I'm good, but
Ohio.
What's that? What?
Sorry.
Yeah, it's a good thing this is only 4 letters long, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to spell it.
Oh,
hey-o.
Boom! We love it. We love it.
Keep it coming.
Sorry, it's I'll lay off. I always thought, and like I said, as an unbiased observer, and it's funny to say this knowing who we play tomorrow night, but I always when I was a kid, I always liked the war chant from the Florida State Seminoles.
Okay.
And I know you guys being ACC, that's not a good thing to say, but I don't know.
Braves stole it. We love it.
But we stole it. So Braves fans stole it. So we're good.
We're all good. Yeah.
Find something like, hey, I like that. We'll do it. So, I always thought that was kind of cool. But, I love our Hail to the Victors, and I'll keep drinking out of my Michigan mug for all time.
Good choice. Good choice.
Well, I've always been a Michigan basketball fan and a Michigan State football fan for whatever weird ass reasons. So where are you from in Michigan, Frank, or you just have ties there?
I was actually born in East Lansing, Spartan country. Everyone in my family is a Michigan State fan except me.
Aha.
Oh, cool.
Until this year, there were some pretty dark times. I didn't answer my phone on that Saturday in October much. But and it's funny, no one answered their phone this year.
Right.
But I'm originally from East Lansing.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, I think Rusty and I both love the sort of the rivalry thing, and like why you might be motivated to beat the rival, and why it's so much fun, especially as much as we like talking about NASCAR, and as much as this podcast is, like, you always have to have, it's like you have to kind of process the other guy, like the guy that loves NASCAR that wants to talk to you, but hates the guy that you root for, and you hate the guy that he roots for. Yeah. It's like, all right, how do we figure out to talk? Oh, can we just talk about we love NASCAR? Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, I actually lived over in north of Muskegon for, I don't know, almost 2 years. So I got those weird both sides of it. I got the people that were like diehard Michigan, like couldn't, and it was the same thing to me as like the Georgia fans. And Michigan State was the same thing. It's like anybody that had a farm animal or raised a plant was a Michigan State fan, which is fine. But what ended up happening is, as a byproduct of that experience is that I came home being, a Michigan basketball fan and a Michigan State football fan. So,
well, there
anyway.
you go. Part 2 of Travis Campbell's question: what would a Danica Patrick win mean to NASCAR? And
holy crap!
I don't know. I mean, and I'm rooting for her, by the way. I always am.
100%.
But
100%. You watch her Instagram? Good
yes.
God Almighty.
But what to say? At this point, she's so far in the, I would say, middle pack sort of driver. Ice cold in the Yeti. Well done. She's so much in the middle pack right now that it's more like what did the Chris Buescher win mean? It didn't mean a whole ton. I mean, it's great that he got it and all that.
Oh, it meant Jack Diddley doo-doo.
Right. So I feel similar. It would take a Danica more like running top 10 in the season or top 15 in the season.
At Richmond or Martinsville or...
Yeah. So, exactly. Not a rain-shortened race either like that or anything. But, if she won straight out...
can't do that, though, in all seriousness.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm overly optimistic.
I like optimism.
Like, I think it would be a lot of fun to see her do that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously. So what would it mean? So we're talking about Travis's question, and we're trying to. So what can we put into place? What would happen in NASCAR if Danica was to win a race?
Yeah, Frank. What?
And I think your point is, let's leave restrictor plate races out of it. So like we don't have to put any commas or asterisks with her wins. So let's say Danica wins at anything but a plate race. What do you think, Frank, that, what will happen in NASCAR if that happens?
I think you're kind of you were kind of already on the same track that I was thinking. In the grand scheme of things, it would be historic. It would be one of those things that would always be brought up, anytime from now until eternity that a woman starts a NASCAR race. As far as changing, the feel or the sport itself, I don't see it. I think that, she would benefit the sport more from finishing in the top 10 times next year than winning one race.
Yeah.
That's right. Very interesting.
Yeah, that puts it in
relevant, when it comes to, like kind of where we've, seen, over the past couple of years, like, certainly before this year, Martin Truex, he only had, coming into this year, I think he had 3 career wins, but he was consistent. He was relevant. He was, gaining finishes of, top 5s, top 10s. So I think that's going to benefit both her team, and the sport more than just one single win and then finishing, 27th the next 3 races.
Well, that's super interesting for a lot of reasons. I tend to agree with you a lot, Frank, especially when we talk about, did you win at a restrictor plate race or did you win during some sort of rain altered event?
Yep.
And those sort of things, or did you just straight up win a race? And I think that's the difference, is that once Truex won a couple of different races that weren't rain associated, but Eric Almirola, do we give him credit for winning Daytona? Do we give David Rudiman credit for winning Charlotte? No, we don't. Like, it's in the record book, but we don't. Like, she needs to win a race that matters.
Yeah,
and
for
I
me,
think that's kind of what you said in a roundabout way.
Yeah,
Frank.
yeah. For me, it's everything that Frank said articulated better than the way I just said it. So, yeah, exactly.
But how much?
Exactly.
If we're answering Travis's question, let's twist it all the way. Yeah, let's braid it all the way down to where she wins a race that matters. What impact does that have on NASCAR? If she wins a race that matters.
For me, what matters more is I think would have a heavier impact is if she makes a chase next year, which I guess a win would do that. But if she makes it,
but consistency would too, like Frank said.
Yep, exactly, and that's where I'm going with it. If she can get top 10 in several and make it in on points, I think that's a lot more. Because then we're talking about her for round 2. You know, we're not just talking about her as the Chris Buescher of this year. For look, she got that one win. There's no way she's going to make it. But hey, she's been top 10, blah blah blah. And hey, look at the tracks we're going to. That's where she's been racing well. I would love to be talking about that at the end of this season, going into the chase. About, well, she's been so strong at blah, 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 blah tracks.
Yeah, so we need her to run.
I want her to be in the conversation, and that's what's going to change it. That's what's going to make an impact.
We need her to
I'm getting excited.
In the top. We need her to run in the top 15 consistently.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, we need her. Yeah. So if Danica is able to run in the top 15 consistently, she'll make some noise.
Yep.
And it will be a huge positive for NASCAR.
Yep. So, next question from Mick Rose at GoDucks42_Mick. He asks, in the current era, is it easier to get noticed for talent or ability to bring sponsorship? And this is the one that I'm going to draw I'm gonna say it like what is it? Shoot, I'm running out of words. The thing is, for me, there's a metaphor to UFC here, and in UFC, it's like saying, should you have better ground game or striking? And it's like, well, to be successful in the UFC right now, you got to have both of those.
So you knock somebody out or just win fights,
right?
Because those are different things.
And so to me, I can see what you're probably thinking here. Is it easier to get noticed if you're a Danica Patrick who can bring in the sponsorship, or if you're like an Eric Jones who's a wheelman coming up through? I think both of those. If you're strong at both of those,
also had sponsorship.
Well, that's true too. So there you go, the Eric Jones type. But I mean, and I'm picking on Danica there, but it's not like she's an awful driver, boys and girls. So as it turns out, I called her middle pack.
Of her owner 2 of the last 3 years, I believe.
Right, I called her a middle pack driver, but that's still better than half the pack.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Those are. Yeah, that's a great comparison.
So maybe I'm avoiding the question. I don't know.
Frank talk.
Yeah, Frank, what's up? What do you think?
And it's kind of what would I prefer versus what the reality is.
Yep.
Obviously, I would rather drivers make it on the merit of their talent. The problem is there are 40 cars in hopefully most Sprint Cup races. Monster Energy Cup races. Sorry. See, I did it already.
Oh, you're good.
It's still Sprint Cup till
Hell, I called it Bush before.
For another 3 days, you can call it Sprint.
But there's only 40 entries, and there are literally thousands of drivers across the country who probably would be competitive if they all had identical cars.
Yep.
So what happens is the teams start saying, well, we've got 16 drivers here, then they all want to drive the car. Oh, but this guy, he has a sponsor already. Sign him.
Yep.
And it's to the point now that you really can't get a ride without a sponsor. So what's more important in reality is the ability to bring in the sponsor, because it doesn't matter how good you are at the track. Without the sponsor, you can't even get to the track.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
I think that's what a lot of folks like, Tommy Joe Martins and Jordan Anderson and Ryan Ellis and all those guys have said. It's like, it's really great when you get a sponsor for one race or you get a sponsor for a season, but it's not because you're good at race car driving. It's because you're good at selling yourself. Mm-hmm. You're very good at promotion.
Yeah. Which why I think Jordan Anderson has a strong.
Kid's a rock star.
Yeah. Absolutely. So that brings us to Strange with Stang this week.
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
Frank, are you familiar with this thing?
You might have heard it before.
I have some very interesting ones. I'm not going to top of the hungry little embryos.
Oh man,
Oh, yeah.
We'll do our best.
We got a pretty tame one this time, and maybe it'll conjure some good stories. She this week, Strange was staying, Ashley J. Stang, who, by the way, great podcast last week with her on. So thank you, Ashley, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks
for our
thanks for fighting through our test case. There.
I know, right? Our technical issues. Hopefully, we've solved a lot of those on this end, at least this week. But she's asking this week, what's the most annoying thing you've ever misplaced while at the race, and did you ever find it? I'm sure it happened while at a campground. Hope it wasn't your shoes. So I think I have a couple here. One, you remember that time my phone got stolen? And then we kind of went on the hunt for it. And then, like, they had crushed it, and then they put it under a car wheel or something like that, and blah, 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 blah. It was kind of funny.
To hell.
Yeah, yeah. But I was due for a new phone anyway, and that kind of catalyzed that whole situation. Although I had a burner for, like, 2 months between, like, when that happened and when I could get a new.
Calm during that process.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
give you credit for that.
Well, I tend to be a calm guy, but I'm gonna kind of make fun of Sherwin here a little bit in terms of misplaced or whatever. I'll call it misplaced forget. Sherwin is a all-star, like, first round pick here for leaving either tickets or the cooler. Those are the two.
Yes.
Those are the two things.
100%.
We've walked all the way up. We could be parked a mile away, and we get there. Sherwin's got no beer, and he's got no ticket.
Oh, I have walked all the way to the gate without my cooler or tickets.
Yep.
I've done both.
Frank, how about yourself? Anything that you've forgotten or misplaced or whatever during the race, and it was kind of embarrassing?
You know what? I'm sure the next time I go to a race, I'm going to pay for this.
Oh, you're doomed.
But not.
Yep, you're doomed now.
Yeah.
We'll have to have you on again to talk about that one.
Yeah, I know I'm going to be in trouble for that eventually. But no, I am so obsessive about where I put things. I'm like, people tell me all the time, like, oh, I lost my keys. How do you lose your keys?
Yeah.
What do you come in the door and you just throw them somewhere? Like, I'll find them later.
Right. Well, I'll figure it out.
And so, I mean, I'm fortunate in that aspect, and I try to take as little to the track as possible. That's the other key. The less I bring with me, the less I can leave there. Yeah. So, I try to minimize the opportunity for myself to leave something. But now that I've gone and told the world that I never forget anything, go ahead and get with me after my first race next year, and I'm sure I'll have something, because that's just how it comes.
Well, we're looking forward to that one then. Frank, last question we ask every person who's on the podcast. You've heard it before. Hopefully you've been thinking about it, maybe preparing for it, or maybe it's off the cuff. What's the one thing in NASCAR you'd change, whether it's butts in the seats, whether it's eyeballs on the TV, or whether it's something you just like to see or something wacko? What do you think?
I think that for me personally, I can't get enough of the throwback paint schemes for Darlington.
Okay.
I get so geeked over all the different designs. This year, I was at the Hall of Fame for several of the unveilings, and I love it. I wish that we could do something similar to that at more tracks, but then, on the same token, I don't want to take away from what Darlington has established. There's obviously the fans have shown, by the response from the race at Darlington the last couple of years, is that they're hungry for that nostalgia, that throwback to an era that they view as better. So I mean, I'm of the mindset that we can't always live in the past. Nothing's going to stay the same. But I really love that that nod to drivers and sponsors and team owners of the past when we go to Darlington. I really wish that there was an opportunity to do that again. If maybe one day if they ever if NASCAR ever goes back to an older track like the Rock or like North Wilkesboro, or even tracks like, if they were to run Xfinity at Myrtle Beach or something like that, I'd love to see some, the Xfinity cars running throwbacks. I think that's great. They got in on it this year. So I just love seeing those old paint schemes. And I wish we could do that more often.
Yep. And whether it's that
schemes were awesome.
Whether it's that or any other sort of themed event that everybody gets into, I think Bristol does a good job too. So I like it. Throwbacks, themed stuff, into it. Frank, let's give you the floor. Last word here. Anything you want to say? Anything you want to do? And tell folks where we can find you.
Well, you can find me on the Twitter at Frank Velat. I don't shut up. I've only been on there for a year and a half, and I put 10,000 tweets last week. So I try to keep people entertained and engaged. So not to get too bored. But no, I've been very fortunate over the past year. I have not been writing for that long. I did not go to school and get a journalism degree. So I've just been, I've followed my passion. I left a 14-and-a-half-year career in the grocery business to pursue being a writer. And, I'm thankful for every opportunity that I get. And I've been fortunate to meet a lot of really cool and interesting people over the past 18 months. And I'm looking forward to what the future has for me. You run into a lot of people in this, line of work that are just grateful to be in it and humble for everything that they've got. And, I try to emulate that feeling. So, like I said, I just, happy to be here. Happy to, even this. I mean, I've been stoked about this since this morning. So
excellent.
Looking forward to looking big 2017 next year.
Absolutely. And with that, thank you, Frank, for being on the show.
Really appreciate you being here.
It's been
Frank.
awesome. Hey, listen, y'all. We may have mentioned it in the last episode, but Happy New Year, everybody. And 2016, whatever you think.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Whatever you think in terms of
hashtag
political,
RIP to Carrie Fisher. Hashtag RIP to Debbie Reynolds.
Yeah, that was this
out to
week.
them.
We've had a lot of people this year, but y'all have been so awesome this year. This has been a fantastic year. PETM podcast has been a bigger success than I could have ever imagined.
As good as it's ever been.
And yeah, hopefully you're enjoying the new formats and stuff. If we had any sort of technical issues this week, we'll keep working on them here.
Yeah,
we're having some fun,
rocking and rolling.
Yes,
we're
sir.
Keep doing the
right through
Jelly
2017
closeout challenge.
And there goes the jelly bean. Man, them things are getting so they're like hard as a rock now. About the time to get a new stash.
Dude,
I got a new stash of them for Christmas.
No, you didn't.
I sure did. We got to eat the rest of it. Anyway,
so we got a jelly bean closeout challenge.
Y'all know where to.
Pregame engineer forwarded by Sherwin, and then
Tailgate Mayor at Tailgate Mayor. You can find us PETM Podcast on Twitter or anywhere on the internet. You can find us.
Seriously, right now, if you just Google PETM Podcast, we all over that biatch.
All right, y'all. Happy New Year! Thank you for 2016. We're looking forward to 2017.
So much.
We'll talk to y'all next week.
Thumbs up. All right, Frank, you still there?
Yep, I'm here. I lost you a bit there at the end.